Welcome to another edition of Talk Your Exposure, and we are joined by an NBA champion, Mike James, who's played multiple years in the NBA, who played NCAA basketball, and had a great story to tell. He was extremely animated and excited to tell his story with the Talk Your Exposure cast. Tune in on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and wherever you get your podcast from. Welcome to another edition of Talk Your Exposure, and today is a very special one. Someone that we've wanted to have on the show for quite some time. But before we introduce our guest of today, I need to reintroduce my ugly co-host of today, Chris Campbell. Man, how is your ugly face doing today?
Well, after reflecting your face, it's doing pretty good. So we're doing this year, Steven. I told you we're not. I let you warm up, but it's over now. So it's okay.
2023 is gonna be the year that you're gonna get I'm gonna get all the smoke. Eh? That's what it's gonna be.
All the smoke.
All right, that's what we're doing.
Mike, I'm sorry, man. You just walked into this. I apologize. You have to walk into this. It's the beginning of this, but it's not. It's been going on for a while, and all of a sudden, when you see smoke, there's a bit of fire starts coming. So this is happening. So it's all right, Mike.
I'm tired of talking to you. I'm tired of hearing your voice right now. I want to hear someone else's voice, and our guest of today, man. I would like to introduce to the show, welcome a former NBA basketball player, definitely someone that helped Toronto Raptors get to where they are today, someone that on the court, hustler, made sure that he did everything correctly. Mike James, welcome to the show.
Mike James.
Who? How you doing?
Mike
Pleasure.
James. I love it.
Glad to be here.
Thank you very much for giving us some time today, and we're looking forward to talking about your basketball career as well as also some things just about you in general. But first thing I do got to ask you, though, before we go any further, I'm an Eagles fan. How does that make you feel?
You know what? I guess when you played sports at a high level, you never really become a super fan. You always keep it in perspective because one, it's hard for me to put my trust into something. Or even let's just say guys gambling on the games or they betting. It's hard for me to even bet on a game because it's I'm trusting you guys to make sure that y'all got a good night's sleep last night, that y'all ate well. Hopefully y'all didn't have no arguments before this tournament. Y'all worrying about ticket sales. Ain't no telling what's going on in your head before the game. So here I am putting my faith in you, and I don't even know if you're 100% ready mentally. And so that's how I look at sports. I don't look at it as, he has to run this. He has to run the play. He has to run the offense. He has to do this. He's supposed to do it because he's been consistently doing it for a certain amount of time during the season. But then it's just that one game, he probably didn't sleep all night last night. He was probably arguing and fighting last night. He probably punched the wall because he was mad, and now he done got a fracture in his hand. But here it is. I'm disappointed based off of somebody else's actions. So it's I really don't get caught up in being a super fan. I'm a Giants fan because being from New York. But at the end of the day, it's in anything, best man wins. I wanted the Giants to win, but that's just how sports go. Get them next year. I'm just glad I'm not a Cowboys fan.
Sure. You and I both, man. You and I both. I'm glad I got the right team right now. Hopefully we get the 49ers on the weekend. So hopefully, now that we beat the Giants, hopefully you can jump on that bandwagon with the Eagles, man. Go Eagles.
Yeah, they had a heck of a year this year. It's beautiful to see a team put it together during the regular season, and then it starts to really come together at the end of the season. And now they hitting on all 5 cylinders at the end of the season, and it's during the playoffs. And this is a tale of what's going on. And based off of preseason, they was predicted. They wasn't really predicted to be this good, and then all of a sudden they just had such a great year. But now they're carrying that over into the playoffs, and that momentum is they really believe that they can be champions this year. And it's the only thing stopping them is one play that can go one way or the other.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I want to start off the show with a game called Overrated, Underrated. Pretty much what we want to hear from you is what your thoughts are on this particular thing. So, for example, if I was to say, Chris Campbell, I would definitely say that's very underrated, which is my co-host. So I would give you a reason as to why it's underrated.
Okay.
But
Wow, I like appreciate it. Okay.
the city of Toronto, is it overrated or underrated?
It's underrated. I think. Well, actually, it's not. It's basically rated exactly where it's supposed to be. The people that know about Toronto, they love Toronto. I don't know one person that went to Toronto and said, I don't like Toronto. They may have said, I don't like the weather. They may have said, I'm tired of the snow. Mm-hmm. But other than that, I'm 110% sure that no one has ever went to Toronto and said, you know what, I was disappointed.
Most definitely. AAU basketball.
Overrated.
Yes, sir. Why?
It's overrated because it's no longer about the game. It's about the entertainment, and that's sports as a whole. The whole, even basketball on a professional level, it's not really about the game really no more. It's about the entertainment, entertaining the fans, entertaining the crowd and the audience. And so even these kids now, these AAU tournaments have turned into, complete mockeries now. And so it's not about, these kids getting exposure and playing against the best competition, because half the time the best exposure don't even play against each other. You could be a Nike guy, you could be an Adidas guy, you could be an Under Armour guy, and you won't even see a Nike guy all summer or an Adidas guy all summer because you're just playing against your sneaker company. And so it's ridiculous. And so it comes down to the marketing and the branding. And I just think that, these kids aren't prepared for the next level, just basically playing AAU basketball, setting them up for failure.
I agree with that one.
Yeah,
Steph Curry.
True.
Excuse me?
Steph Curry.
Man, he rated right where he is. He ain't underrated. He ain't overrated. All the credit they give that guy as a ball player, he deserves it. What he's capable, what he's able to do at his size is amazing. And what he's been able to do for his whole career. Mm-hmm. He's a great basketball player at his position. One of the best point guards. I still got Kyrie Irving over him, but that's not really, that's either a hit or miss. That's depending on what you like, whether or not you like cookies or you like cake. Still sugar.
Fair enough. You're down in the South right now. I got to know, chicken and waffles.
Excuse me?
Chicken and waffles. I got to know. You're down in the South right now. I got to know if you're overrated or underrated on chicken and waffles.
I mean, chicken and waffles is overrated.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like, if I'm going to eat waffles, I want some eggs. I want some breakfast with it. I don't want no fried chicken. If I'm eating fried chicken, I want a dinner plate. I don't want to eat fried chicken, eggs, waffle. Seriously? I want some sausage, or I want some bacon, or something that look like a breakfast meat. Fried chicken is not a breakfast meat. It's not meant to eat with a waffle. Waffles are meant to eat with eggs.
Yes, sir. I agree with you on that. I agree.
100% over here too.
I'm with you on that one, but a lot of people will disagree for sure. But I'm with you on that one. So obviously the pandemic came and went. COVID was definitely definitely painful to be a part of. How was the pandemic for you?
The pandemic was, it was a growth. It was learning myself, learning the people around me, because you had to be stuck with, ones that you hope you love, but you realize, like, I don't really love you. I loved you for 5 minutes, but I don't think I love you for 15 minutes. And so that's one thing that was found out during the pandemic. But and the funny thing is, I grew my hair during the pandemic. I couldn't get a haircut, so I said, I'm gonna grow dreads. I went from a bald head to dreadlocks. That's kind of it's kind of backwards, but I think, and my beard, I haven't cut my hair since the pandemic.
Oh wow!
And so that's something that I picked up. I think that personally, just overall growth, consistently just trying to grow and just taking advantage of that opportunity, to just get my thoughts together and get my life under order. 100%.
Well, definitely. How are you adapting to this new norm?
There is no new norm. Once the pandemic was over, if you think about it now, you may see a small percentage of people still driving around. I never understood that, but still driving around with their mask on. And it's like, Okay, you're in the car with your windows open with the mask on. Help me understand. Make that make sense.
Yep.
No judgment. Leave that alone. But there's still a small percentage that, they feel like they have to protect themselves, and then they still people that don't understand the vaccine. And there's so many court cases coming out now of negative against the vaccine, and people still talking about getting boosters. And so it still mixes. I just think this is one of those things that you have to study to show yourself approved, and don't look at what your neighbor is doing. You find out for yourself if this is suitable for you and your family, not what's going on in the neighbor's house, but what's going on in your own family, and like you lay down your own law.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I don't really understand why people want to drive around in their own car with nobody else in their car with their mask on it. It makes no sense to me whatsoever. I've never understood that. I sit in my front seat and I'm like, why do you have your mask on? Like, it's not that serious. COVID is not getting into your car from the outside. It doesn't make any sense.
I think that, you know what, honestly, I think that their breath be so bad that they're getting high off themselves, and they don't really realize what's going on, but the toxins in their mouth is probably doing something psychologically to their brain. And it's like, I can't take this mask off for whatever reason. I want to keep my mask on because I feel good.
Well, hey, listen, a lot of people have the mask on and realize that, the breath is, they don't want to share that anymore. So,
I remember the first time, one of the times I put a mask on, and I said, wait a minute, this mask stink. I said, hold on, this mask stink. But it wasn't a mask. I had to realize, like, oh,
yep, that's it.
That was coming out of my own esophagus. Okay.
Wow. They said during the pandemic that was the time for reflecting and to be able to start new things. Were you able to start any new businesses or create any new ideas during that time? And if so, what were you able to create?
I have a hemp farm. That we grow hemp and medical marijuana, and so it's 3 years old. So we created it around the time of the pandemic, and that's been really growing, and I've been really just involved in that area right there, and just focused there for this time being.
I like that. No, I gotta figure that. So, growing up in, correct me if I'm wrong, is it Copacabana, was it Copacabana, New York? How's it say that?
No.
That's what I thought. See, we gotta fix a few things there. Because you
Amityville, baby.
That's what I'm saying. So, growing
up
in Amityville.
It's not. What happened was, I guess like my first year or something, they asked me, where were you born? I was born in Amityville, New York, but Copeg Hospital. It's like Copeg, but Copeg is in town right next to Amityville. But I don't claim Copeg, I claim Amityville.
I was claim Amityville too. Amityville. Yeah. So, all right, that makes sense, man. Okay, that makes sense. Amityville's tough though, boy. That's a tough spot. So,
I mean, it's no tougher than any other community when you don't have a lot of income, in the community. And it's an urban community. I think one of the things that made my neighborhood different, I was born on Long Island, and Long Island is the suburbs of New York. You have the 5 boroughs: New York City, Brooklyn, Bronx, Queens, Manhattan, Staten Island, and then there's Long Island right there. Long Island is not considered a borough, but it's right in the heart of everything, But it's on the water, and most of the towns in Long Island have there's money. People move from the boroughs to Long Island when they make it in life. When they feel like moving on up, they move to Long Island. They move to the Hamptons. They move out east. And so it's funny because in my small town, there was, growing up as a kid, it was this block. And we was on, if you do the research, we was on 60 Minutes years ago, because it was about $2 million a day being pumped on the block in drug money in my community. And I think this is the thing that changed my community, because nobody had money in the area, but the drug money was the thing that was like the most popping thing that was happening. So when you have drugs involved in a community, that means that the crime is going to escalate. That means so many other things you're going to be able to see. So I'm watching killings. I'm seeing people get murdered. I'm seeing people get jumped, getting beat with bats. I'm seeing people packages get stolen. You see so much, but it all stems from the fact of the money that's being produced back and forth illegally. Mm-hmm. So I've learned one thing in life is there's no honor amongst thieves. So if you put a whole bunch of thieves in a room and you try to tell them to be compatible and to be friends and to be a one crew, well, eventually one person going to start stealing from this one going to start stealing from this one is, because at the end of the day, who's going to be able to get the most from? So as a child, I was able to watch all of this. And so the drug dealers became the rock stars in my community, because the drug dealers were the ones that had the foreign cars, had the nice clothes, had the pocket full of money. And when they come in the park, they may say something like, Mike, go to the store for me and give me a 50 and be like, keep the change. And so here it is. They bill is like $7, $8. And I'm sitting there doing a worm in the park. Now I got all candy on me today. Like, dog, don't even trip. Like, we get all the ice cream you want off the ice cream truck today. So these were my experiences early in life, and it all stemmed off of what the drugs was doing to my community, the bad and also the good. Because there were so many people that created a lifestyle for themselves that really had absolutely nothing and was made fun of and mocked their whole life. Then all of a sudden they became rock stars based off of crack. Mm-hmm. So it had a pro and a con.
Yo, thank you for sharing that, man. That's some real conversations right there. And a lot of bros had that same type of things, experiences. So I like you shared that point of view. Also, my point of view is that you said earlier that, you're a New York Giants fan. So is that because you're from New York, you got to pick a New York team to rep? Is that how it works?
I'm really a Jets fan. And that's not proud to say. I don't really like telling people, like, you a Jets fan? How are you a Jets fan? Like, why? I'm like, I don't know. Like, I'm a Mets fan. Like, why are you not a Yankees fan? I don't know. Like,
you like the underdog, clearly. You like the underdog.
Yes, apparently. I love the underdog, 100%. But at the end of the day, it's like, I'm just a New York fan. Perfect. You know what I mean? Like, I like New York. If New York is winning, all of New York wins. Because guess what? If the Jets win, the parade going to be in New York. If the Giants win, the parade going to be in New York. If Brooklyn wins, the parade is in New York. If the Knicks win. So it's like whoever wins, guess what? The parade is still going to be the most amazing thing. And can you imagine a parade in New York? Oh my goodness. That will be crazy in any championship field.
Hey, listen,
it'd be hard to beat that Toronto one.
I was about to say
that Toronto championship.
I was about to say that one.
I don't know if Toronto going to be able to make a championship team again after.
I know why. I understand, but that championship.
I bet that parade was amazing.
2 million people.
I bet it was amazing. It was amazing. I bet it was.
Crazy.
100%.
All right. So that being said, what was your most memorable New York moment? Because you rep New York hard. So what was the most memorable?
In sports or out of sports?
Don't care. It's New York.
Wow.
I mean, it's funny because whenever I used to go back home to play, I would always walk out on the court because, the way New York is set up like no other arena. The arena is dark and all the lights is on the basketball court. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like being on Broadway, where all the lights is on the stage and, the crowd, you can't see the crowd. It's dark in the crowd. So I used to always walk at half court and I'll start singing dun 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 dun, and I'll start singing. I'm on Broadway. Like I always, that song used to always come to my head, and I used to be like, man, I'm on Broadway right now. Like there's no greater place than playing in Madison Square Garden and being able to have success in the Garden and really putting up some pretty good numbers. I've had some really great games. Some of my best games was in the Garden in front of my family. And I think that that definitely was one of my bright spots. Just even in my career, was being able to showcase to my family, you know, my talents and my skills in person.
Okay. Well, being the Broadway show you are, how'd you start playing basketball then?
Man, either you slinging crack rock or you got a wicked jump
I got
shot.
a
What you
shot.
mean?
I like it.
Like all my friends, everybody sold drugs. You like remember I told you about the $2 million pumped through the. Believe me, they call all my friends, like all my friends my age. I used to be in the park by myself, like, where is everybody? Everybody got a package on them. Everybody making money. And so it's like, you know, if you ain't playing basketball, you getting in trouble. We didn't have after school programs. We didn't have a boxing gym where, you know, the kids can go to let off some steam. We didn't have nothing to let off no steam but trouble. Being a bully, bullied or be bullied. That's how we was raised. You know, you either get down or lay down. And you're going to figure it out from there. You're going to be one of the kids that's, you know, that is crying and scared to come to school, or you're going to be one of those kids that can move however you want to move. And if you want to move however you want to move, well, you got to be down with the bullies then.
So then what about the mentors? Who would you consider a mentor through all that stuff going on? Because you mentioned
Man, I had nobody. I had nobody in my life. My dad worked days. My mom worked nights. I had me. I had 3 brothers, 3 sisters. I'm the baby of 7.
Wow.
You know, my family, everybody was doing their own thing. I had a lot of me time. I had a lot of, you know, it was just me in the park. I used to be in the park by myself every single day. Rain, sleet, snow. You know, people got stories of me I would shovel off the court. I mean, I'm 8, 9, 10 years old. I'll just shovel off the court and I'll just be playing by myself. You know, it's raining outside, I'll go play. My family arguing, I'll go in the park. You know, the park was right next to my house. So I could hear basketball bouncing from my bedroom window, and I'll look and see who's in the park. And so it was just like the courts just became my safe haven. That was like my release, my outlet.
Wow.
Most definitely. You know, obviously that's a great breakdown of you know your childhood. But I want to talk a little bit more about, you know, I want to go straight to university. You had a lot of opportunities to go play at a pretty high level D1s. Excuse me for my pronunciation, but you ended up at Duquesne
University.
Duquesne University.
Actually, no one wanted me coming out of high school. I had nowhere to go. I was going to go to a junior college in California, Riverside Community College.
Okay.
And my AAU coach, Gary Charles, he called me on Friday. He said, Mike, Duquesne has one of their guys just quit the team. Duquesne has 1 scholarship left, and they're looking for a guard. I told them about you. They come into Roosevelt Park. This is where Dr. Julius Erving grew up, in Roosevelt. They said Roosevelt, Long Island. They said they come into the park to come see you play. And he was like, you better not mess it up. You better be on time, and you better not be late. Don't play with me. He's cussing me out. I'm like, coach, I got it. So I get there. I do 2 moves. One of the moves I did, I split the defense. Like it was pickup. We was playing on Sunday morning. And I split the defense. I threw the ball between my legs, and I caught a lean dunk. And he looked at me. He was like, yo, I don't got to see no more. We bringing him on a visit on Wednesday. like, you know, when he seen me do that, he was like, yeah, we're going to bring him on a visit on Wednesday. So he didn't want to see me play no more or nothing. He was like, I'm good. I saw enough. And when I went to my visit on Wednesday, it was Sunday. Got my plane ticket on Tuesday. Wednesday, I'm in Pittsburgh. And I'm playing against the starters. And all I'm thinking to myself is, oh, I got to outplay y'all to get this scholarship. He said, it's a wrap. I said, it ain't nothing else to talk about. You know what I'm saying? It ain't nothing else to talk about. And that's what happened. It was too late in the summer for them to sign me to give me a scholarship. So John Carroll wrote on on one of those yellow papers. He wrote the secretary's number, the address of the school. It was like August, I think, that I signed. I got the scholarship, but he was like, Mike, there's no papers for you to sign. Just trust me. Just come to this school, come to this address. Here go the secretary. Call her when you get here, and we're gonna have you all set up. Trust me, you got a scholarship. And I'm like, you sure? Like, all right, like, I guess I got a scholarship. I didn't sign no papers. I didn't do that. I just showed up at school. Like when they told me to show up, I was like, hey guys, I'm here. So yeah, that's how I got my scholarship to college.
Wow, God is good, putting you in the right place at the right time to be able to be
That's
seen.
a fact.
And shout out to your, you know, you answered earlier that you didn't have a mentor, but it sounds like your AU coach took care of you a little bit. So
Yeah, Charles did something.
No, I mean, you know, it's not that I had mentors. I didn't really have mentors, but at the end of the day, I was a pretty good player, you know, but it was so many other good players around me that my talent was overlooked because I've always been the type of player that even during my basketball career in the NBA, the one thing that they realized, like the thing about me is like I was always a jack of all trades. So I didn't do nothing great, but I did everything good. I wasn't the fastest. I wasn't the most athletic. I wasn't the best shooter. I wasn't the most creative. I wasn't the best finisher, but I could do all of those things pretty good. Mm-hmm. And so it was almost like when you talk about me, it's like, well, what does he do good? You know, but don't look at, because, you know, you look at certain players, every individual has something, a unique skill about themselves, where they say they do this really, really good, or they do this really, really great. I never had that type of, you know, it was like, hey, he's a good jump shooter. He's pretty good athletic. He's got some speed. He got a little jump shot. So it was like, you know, so when they talked about me or when they judged me, it was always like, well, what does he do good? And it was like, nothing. So it's like, well, this kid, he got a 50-inch vertical. So here it is. They'll sign the kid that can shoot better than me, or they'll sign the kid that's faster than me. But what they didn't realize, he may have ran a 10-5. I'm just running he running a 10-5. I'm running a 10 flat. I'm running a 9. I'm running a 9.82. So it's not like you're so much ahead of me. You may have a 40-inch vertical, but my vertical was like a 30, 33, 35. So it's like you may have great athleticism, but I got good athleticism. Right. You shoot 45% from the three-point line. I may shoot 39, 40. So your numbers are always, when you look at those stats, but when you look at my numbers across the board and when you look at the value of what I bring across the board, you could never take that away from me. I was always one of those players that you didn't really know what you had until it was gone. And then you realize, like, wow, this kid was pretty good. Yep. But I'm already on somebody else's team getting overlooked now. Yep.
Fair enough. Obviously, every rookie or freshman always has someone that tries to take them under their wing and try to help them out, whether it's in the NBA, whether it's in NCAA, whether it's whatever it might be based on the sport that you're playing. Your freshman year, was there a particular person that pushed and mentored you every day in practice or every day during
college
your career?
Kenya Hunter. I think he coaches at University of, I think it's Indiana. He's coaching at he's assistant coach at Indiana. Now, amazing guy. But he was the man. He was a senior. No, he was a junior when I was a freshman. But he was the man on campus. He had the girl, he had the car, he had the money, he had everything on campus. And so I used to look at him like, yo, I'm taking your position, I'm taking your girl, I'm taking your spot, I'm taking everything you have. Like, if it's yours, I'm taking it. Like, that was my mindset without ever saying anything. So we would be in drills, or we'll be running a mile, and he'll run his mile in like 5:50, 5:55. And everyone else is running a mile in 8 and 9 minutes and walking. So I'm sitting there, I'm running my mile in 5:50, 5:55. Whatever he did. So I learned, so the thing is, I learned how to respect him based off the fact that I had to leave him alone because of how great of a leader he was. I was like, man, this dude is a freaking machine. I was like, man, let me back up off this dude and find somebody else to mess with and pick with. Like, this guy is like, what are you? But he taught me leadership based off of what I wanted his position. I wanted his job. I wanted what he had. But he taught me, if you want what I have, you got to work harder or even harder than me. You got to bust your tail even more than I bust my tail. Mm-hmm. Later for the skill, the talent's going to take care of itself. But the work that you put in is going to be the things that's going to make sure that you stay in a certain position. And so that's what made him stay in his position. And the only time I took his position, he got hurt. And he got hurt like my sophomore year when he was a senior. And the coach was like, Mike, you starting now. But up until that point, it was always his position. And then I learned to respect it playing behind him because of how much of a great leader he was to me without him without me ever telling him ever putting me under his wing, but me just emulating what he did every day. Made me into a great leader. So when I was a sophomore, when I was a junior, and the freshmen would come in, and I remember there was a freshman came in, he was an All-American, and he was like, yo, Mike, I'm taking your position this year. You already know you're going to be on that bench this year. And I looked at him, and all I said to him was, it ain't going to be that easy, dog. You're going to have to work for that. Mm-hmm. But I learned that and I understood what he was saying because I was him. Mm-hmm. And here I am now. I'm Kenya, and he's me. So I learned how to be in his shoes and how he was looking at me. I'm pretty sure he heard me breathing down his neck. I'm pretty sure he paid attention to how I would probably show some disrespect to him or how I would try to impose my will on him. But at the same time, he never exposed me in those ways. He just always outworked and outplayed me. And that was the way that I was like, all right, you got it. I'll bow down now.
When everything was said and done, you finished off in school history the all-time leader in 201, fifth in assists, 10th in points with 14-11. You were named to the All Atlantic 10 Conference, first team the All Atlantic 10 Conference, first team in your senior year at the university. With all 4 years competing against the best player on the team, being able to get to where you were, having that New York tough mentality, everything you went through in your childhood, how did these accomplishments make you feel at the moment?
Every year I was disappointed. Every year I was disappointed in how I played. Every year there was something that made me want to push me and drive me. After my freshman year, John Carroll, my coach at the time, he told me I was the worst player that he ever seen play basketball. And if I ever shoot another jump shot in the game, he'll have a walk-on start before he play me. And so Here it is. I go from having records in high school the years before with 7, 8 threes in games. And, I'm breaking hot records. And then I go to college and this man tells me I can't shoot. And I'm like, that's all I do is shoot. What do you mean, don't shoot the ball? So I had no confidence in my game. I had no belief in who I was. And the funny thing is, he got fired after my freshman year, and I was third team All-Atlantic 10 my sophomore year. And fast forward a little bit, my third year in the NBA, he was my head assistant coach for the Boston Celtics, and I was the starting point guard for the Boston Celtics. And Jim O'Brien, he quit during the middle of the season, so John Carroll was the head interim coach for the Boston Celtics, and I was his starting point guard in the NBA. And I used to sit there while I would be on the bench. I would just be looking at him just like, how dare you tell a kid some crap like that? Yeah, you don't try to break nobody. You don't try to tell a kid some mess because here I am. You tried to break me as a child, but here I am. I'm playing at the highest level, and I'm starting, and you're my coach still.
Hell yeah.
Like, wow. But all I could think was, man, look at God. Look at God. God never allowed me to be mocked. And every time a person tried to mock me, they always swallowed those words.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I love that.
Okay. So, man, that's some good. That's a nice twist in the story right there. Think about that. But when you're walking out, you eligible for NBA draft and everything. What was going through your mind through the process?
I hope they were saying that my agent, I had an agent at the time, and he said, I may be a late first round, early second round draft pick. Watching the draft, and hearing all those names being called. I was, my cousin was at the house and we was all watching the draft, and I didn't hear my name being called at all. But the thing is, I didn't even get invited to not one camp that summer. So nobody saw me. I didn't get invited to a Portsmouth. I didn't get invited to a Chicago. I didn't get it. So I didn't even get a chance to even get to showcase myself in front of an NBA team. So I just went in the park and just started shooting, just playing. I went overseas for 3 years, and then I came back. But yeah, it wasn't easy watching it, especially when a few of those guys that were drafted, I knew I was better than, but it was one of those things. Being a jack of all trades, you get overlooked quick when there's nothing that makes you go to the next guy. Hey, look what he just did. Did you just see him jump over that guy? Like, I would never do that. I'm gonna jump through him. I'm getting a charge called on me. I'm not jumping over him.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with that. And so I'm glad you said that, because you went undrafted and you went over so you went to Europe, and you're in Europe now. You spent a couple of years there. Australia League. I think it's St. Polten that you played as well.
Yes, Austria. Yes.
Austria. So talk about that experience, because now you didn't get undrafted. You're seeing these guys who got to take it in, and now you're over there balling.
It sucked. My first year I made $30,000. My next year I made $35,000. You know what I mean? Like, but nobody else was calling me. So it was like, either you just wait and sit around, and here it is Christmas time, and don't be making no money because your pride won't allow you to humble yourself. And you're still, even though you're not getting paid the money that you believe you're supposed to be getting paid, you're still doing something that you love doing, and you still have an opportunity to play it. So I said, you know what? I swallowed my pride and took the opportunity. And the funny thing is, we won a championship that year. Like, I had a heck of a year, and I told them, hey, you give me 50,000, I'll come back next year. They laughed at me like I was Kevin Hart or something. I said, wait a minute. But then they give the center 60,000. But they don't know the reason why the center had such a good season that year. It wasn't the center that made the center have a good season. It was Rock. So when Wa wasn't on the team no longer, the center got exposed on how good he really wasn't. Mm-hmm. I was able to hide him, and I only showcased his good qualities, and anything else, you know what I mean? I hid them, and I was able to understand that about him and only put him in successful positions. Mm-hmm. So he looked great when he played with me. But when he stopped playing the next year, they was like, who the heck is but here it is. Now you can't even. Now you hear that's that thing. You don't know what you have until it's gone.
It's just gone.
They're like, we miss you, Mike. I ain't coming there for no 40.
Yo, you say that so confidently because it happens so many times. You know already. I can see it right there. You draping us saying, "Listen, you gotta have no clue what you have until I leave." I like how you do that.
Facts. Everyone has done that to me. Everyone, my whole entire career. I remember I played with the Rockets. And Jeff Van Gundy, he called me the most arrogant, cocky son of a bitch he ever met in his life. He was like, you the most, because I asked him, I said, dang, coach, because he used to always talk crazy to me. And I was like, coach, what do you think about me? Like, seriously, like, what do you think about me when you think of Mike James? And he was like, you were just an arrogant, cocky son of a bitch. You think it's all about you. I was like, are you? Wow. And I was like, whoa, are you serious? Like, that is far from who I am. Like, I'm like the best rider. Like, if you talk about a person that's going to ride with you, listen, I'm in the foxhole with you, coach. Like, what do you mean? Arrogant, selfish. No, I am cocky. Mm-hmm. I am these things because you know what? I had to be those things because nobody believed in me. So I had to believe in myself. So when I used to go anywhere I went, they'd be like, man, who you? Like, man, I'm Mike James, man. You don't know who I am now, but I bet you know who I am when I leave here. Like, I'm tired of y'all not knowing who I am. So I had to play with that chip on my shoulder. Because if I didn't play with that chip on my shoulder, nobody was hearing me. They was ready to give my position to somebody else. If that person had just a little bit of an inkling of a better name than me, that person's going to get my position. I went into every camp as the second guard. Most of the camps I went in there as the third guard. When I started, I took my positions.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I started on the team, I wasn't supposed to be starting. I was supposed to be a third player coming off the bench. Even when I was in Toronto, the next year, one of the reasons I didn't sign back was the next year, Sam Mitchell came to me and said, look, we think that Jose Calderon will be better at the point guard starting than you coming off the bench for him. I said, what? I just came from averaging 20. I'm averaging 20 and 6 right now. I just finished the end of the season averaging 30 and 15. And you're going to sit here and make it make sense. I was like, make it make sense. Like, help me. Are you serious? You know, they talk about, I have an interview when I was in Toronto. They call it Angry Mike, the Angry Mike interview. And it's like it's the end of the season. And they mock me on it, but they're talking about how selfish I am, how I'm not a point guard, and how I only play for myself. And this is what the reporters are asking me. And I'm getting mad now. And I'm sitting there like, wait a minute. Are you getting mad at me? Because no, we played against Chris Paul, and I think I shot the ball like I was like 4 for like 24 or something. Like I had like a horrible shooting night. And they was like killing me. Like, all you do is shoot the ball. But I'm like, okay, I was 4 for 24, but I had 15 assists tonight. And for the last month, I've been averaging 30 and 12. And y'all gonna sit here and tell me I'm not a point guard? I was like, I'm sorry I'm not John Stockton. I'm sorry I'm not a pass-first point guard. I am a playmaker. I make plays. But I said, y'all telling me what I'm doing at this level and the high rate that I'm doing it is still not good enough? I was like, man. I was like, make this make sense to me, y'all. Like, y'all killing me right now. And I'm averaging, just to get my average up to 20, I had to average like 34 for like a month. Just to get my average to 20. Yeah. So I finished the season at 20. But after All-Star break, I was averaging 30. See, people don't understand. People don't think about that part. So everybody that season caught 30 against me. Every guard. Every person I played against that season, they got the business put on them. From the Allen Iversons to the Stephon Marburys, whoever was your favorite player, they had a Mike James night. They got a Mike James story.
Love that. I love that. You talked to us a little bit about Jeff Van Gundy. You talked to us a little bit about Sam Mitchell. You talked to us a little bit.
But get back to, I'm sorry to cut you off, but get back to Jeff Van Gundy. Jeff Van Gundy said all those things about me. This is the you don't know what you have until it's gone moment. The next year, he trades me the day right before media day. He trades me media day. This is when I come to Toronto. Mm-hmm. I'm in Toronto now. I'm hurt. My feelings. This is the first time. Seriously, this is the first time a trade has hurt my feelings because I didn't think I was going to get traded from Houston. I thought I was going to be in Houston a while. All the other places I knew I was going to get traded from, and I even asked for trades from some of them places.
Wow.
But Houston, I was like, this is home. So when Jeff traded me, it hurt me so bad. And I can remember driving my daughter to school. She was 2 years old at the time. I started crying because I was like, when am I ever going to get a break? When am I ever going to get a chance? You know, everywhere I go, people always overlooking me. And I started tearing. I started crying. So my wife is looking at me. She don't know what to say or comfort me. My oldest daughter is looking at me. She's in the back seat. She's like 4 or 5. She don't know what to say. She's looking at me. My 2-year-old, she went just like this to me. Daddy, a crybaby. Daddy, a crybaby. Daddy, a crybaby. Daddy, a crybaby. And I looked at her, and all I can see is her saying, Ninja, if you don't suck it up, go to Toronto, go handle your business, and go do what you got to do and play this game how you play it. I looked at her, I wiped my eyes and said, baby, you right. I said, you right. I said, you right. And that's how, but at that time, my whole mindset changed. By that time, I was no longer playing for the name on the front of the jersey. Mm-hmm. I was representing that name on the back of the jersey. Like, so when I came to Toronto, I was angry. Like, I was the angry hooper. Like, I'm just going to kill. I'm just going to play. But it's like, I'm not trying to make friends. I just want to play basketball. I came here to play and I'm going to play. You know, but the thing is, I lost myself in that because I took the fun out the game. I took the very thing that made me the enjoyment of what made me get up and want to do it every day. That excitement, that thrill, that make you feel like a kid being out there. It was no longer a game. It was serious. And it was just like, you know what? If there's one thing, but let me get back to topic. Jeff Van Gundy. I get traded, I kill Houston the next year. I average like 35 against Houston with Mac, with Yao Ming, with their whole team. And at the end of the season, I'm a free agent now. And Jeff Van Gundy, the free agent market opens up at 12 a.m. the next day. It is 10:30. I already know Jeff Van Gundy is going to come to the house and he wants to talk to me and try to re-sign me. He's there at 11:55. I take a walk with my wife at 11 for like 2 hours. We walk out because we take a walk about 11 o'clock at night, and I'm hurt all over again. Like I'm hurting all over again because I'm sitting there like, here it is. You got me at hello, like you had me at hello, and you poop on me like this, and then you trade me after it's basically saying we got rid of the bad seed in the family. We got rid of the one that was going to keep us from being the best version of us as a team. That bad seed is gone. So now we have a better chance of being a better team because this person isn't there. So that kind of hurt me a little bit for him to be the first coach trying to get me to re-sign after you had me, dog. I'm supposed to be in my third year with you right now. So I didn't. So the funny thing is when they tried to trade me and they traded me for Rafer Alston, and when they said that we traded you for Rafer Alston, I was like, and who else? I know you didn't just trade me a straight up trade for me and Ray for one on. I said you got it. I'm sure you got you a draft pick out the deal. I'm sure you got you something else out the deal. But it always went back to you don't really know what you have until it's gone. And I've always been a victim of that.
Yeah. Now, speaking of trades, February 19th, 2004, you're in a 3-team trade that sent you to the eventual NBA champion Detroit Pistons. I got to ask you, though, what was those practices like? What was it like being on that team? You were around Big Ben, you're around Rasheed, you're around Prince, you're around Rip, you're around Big Shot, you're around all those guys. And then you have, obviously, Coach Brown, legendary coach, the coach there as well. So it looked like you fit in. It looked like you were finally being accepted to that team. What was it like being a Detroit Piston at that moment, beating the Lakers and being around those guys?
You know what the crazy thing about us? That was the least amount of intensity I've ever trained and practiced in my life.
Damn.
What?
It was the least. We didn't do nothing. I mean, when we practiced, I would never put pressure on Chauncey. And Larry Brown would yell at me, put pressure on him, turn him in the backcourt, like you be doing in the game. And I'll whisper in Chauncey's ear, I'll be like, man, Chauncey, I ain't gonna put no pressure on you. I'm gonna act like I'm putting pressure on you though, dog. Don't even trip. Like, it was such a brotherhood. It was so dope. That was like the dopest team. I've never laughed. I've never been around more genuine people my whole entire career. It was almost like Detroit was crack. And I smoked it in Detroit, and I could never find that high nowhere else.
Damn.
Like, it was like the most amazing team, it was the most misfit team, the most mental dysfunctional group I've ever been around. But when I tell you, it was the greatest group of people. I mean, somebody would have a 3-year-old birthday party. The whole team is coming. Rip would get off the bus every city. Yo, we meeting downstairs in 15 minutes. Whoever coming, pull up. It ain't no, yo, we're going to meet in like 10 minutes. Yo, we're going to meet in like, nah. When we go out, the whole team going out. It's all 14 of us. Like, we hung out like a gang. During the playoffs, it was so beautiful because I remember we had Milwaukee the first round, and we went out in Milwaukee, but it was just all of us just sitting there just growling at everybody, and we looking like a bunch of gangsters, but we basketball players. And it's just like, but that was our mantra. It was go hard off the court, go harder on the court. Like But when it was game time, we always had each other's back. When the starters was in the game, the bench was standing up cheering. When the bench was in the game, the starters was standing up cheering. And the beauty was we had 10 players on the team that could have started on damn near half the teams in the NBA at that time. That's what was amazing, was our bench was just as good as our starters.
Gotta love that, man. Gotta love that. And that's the biggest thing about you guys that I took away from that in general is your defense, man. Your defensive rotation, your defensive intensity, the way you guys got after it. It wasn't just the five that were on the court. Like you mentioned, you coming off the bench, McDyess coming off the bench. I forgot who else came off the bench. I want to say Darko, but I know Darko barely played that time at all. It was waste. Anyways, we're not gonna talk about that. But you know, but the fact that you guys were so defensive minded. That's in my opinion, what got you guys the championship. But I want to know, but I want to know though, that last 5 minutes of the finals, game 5, you versus Lakers, last 5 minutes, knowing you guys are going to win the championship, what was going through your mind at that moment?
Man, we knew we was going into the playoffs. We knew we was going to win the championship.
Wow!
Like going into the playoffs, we knew there's no team that can match with us. Like. We could score at will, but y'all can't score. Mm-hmm. It got to a point at we have a record for holding a certain amount of teams under 60 points during a 24-second shot clock. I mean, I can remember playing against New Jersey, and I think we had like 8 games or 7 games where we held teams under 60 points. And this was like the 8th game. And we're beating them like 110 to 59. And Aaron Williams taps the ball in with like 10 seconds left, and they score 61. Their crowd goes crazy because they broke the record of, the streak of us holding teams under 60. And we sitting there laughing at them like, look at what they consider a victory. We just beat them by 40, but they happy that they didn't allow us to keep our record going. It was like a mockery to us that year. We was mocking teams. We used to go into the arena like, man, how much we gonna beat y'all by tonight? When we played against the Lakers in that series, I remember before the series started, we was in a shoot around in Los Angeles, and we was coming off the court. The Lakers was coming on the court, and Shaq, Eldon, everybody knows each other. So Shaq came up to Eldon Campbell. He was talking to Eldon Campbell, and Shaq said, where that double team coming from tonight? Which way that double team coming from? Eldon said, man, ain't nobody double teaming you. Been playing you one-on-one straight up. Shaq said, yeah, all right. Ben played that man one-on-one straight up that whole series. We ain't sending no double teams. Mind you, been about 200 pounds lighter than him. But he one of the strongest people I've ever met in my life.
Yep.
But the thing we said was, Kobe going to get his points. Shaq going to get his points. If you look at that box score, everybody else was 2 points, 4 points, 3 points, 2 points, 1 point. Wasn't nobody else seeing that rim. We was like, we can't stop Shaq. We can't stop Kobe. But you guys, oh, it's a wrap. Y'all ain't got no help, Kobe and Shaq. You and Shaq gonna have 30 and 30. That's it. Y'all got 65 points. Now, with the rest of your team, y'all got 85 points amongst y'all. That's not enough to beat us. Mm-hmm. Y'all not gonna be able to put up enough points to beat us because y'all don't have enough offensive to be a threat against us. Mm-hmm. You had to be great in order to play against us. You had to be a genius. You had to be smart, and you had to be talented and great. The only people that was able to handle us that year were the superstars. Mm-hmm. But the good players on their team, those were the ones that folded.
Obviously, you mentioned Kobe a bit earlier. With Kobe's passing in 2020, what was your most memorable moment? Whether playing against Kobe or what you heard about Kobe, or just being around Kobe in general. I know, obviously, hearing Kobe Bryant with the Raptors. I know that's probably a tough time for you to be able to think about, consider the fact that he scored 81 against us. But just kind of wanted to know what your thought process is, or what your best moment was, with Kobe Bryant.
You know what's funny about that game was I was the high scoring man for us. I had a heck of a first half. I promise you I had. But you know what's funny about that game? When we went into halftime, right? I had like 18 points, like 7, 8 assists. So I'm like, okay, we up 8 points. I said, I'm talking to myself, and I'm talking to myself like, okay, come on, Mike. Let's get Jalen involved now. Let's get Chris involved. Let's get Mo Pete going. You know, let's get the guy. I was like, okay, I'm gonna get the guys going in the second half. You know, that first half was about me. I got my points. So I was like, okay, so now I'm gonna get Mo going. I'm gonna get Chris going. I'm gonna get Jalen going. So I came out in the second half with a completely different mindset than I started the game with. I started thinking pass first. So if you was to watch the game, I'm just passing the ball to everyone, and they all miss it. Like, I'll pass the ball to Jalen for an open three, and he'll hit the back of the rim. Kobe grabbed the rebound, score on the other end. I come down court, pass to Chris on one end. He missed. Kobe get the rebound, score on the other end. I pass to Mo Pete. He missed. Kobe get the rebound, score on the other end. I'm going, wait a minute. Everybody is missing, but nobody is scoring on the Lakers. Kobe is scoring he scored like the next 40 points for them or something crazy. And I'm sitting here like, wait a minute now. I lost all my aggression, and here it is. This guy is still looking like he sees red. And it was the most hurtful thing I think about that 81-point game was I remember it was like 2 minutes left in the game, and the whole arena is screaming, Kobe, Kobe. We was in a timeout. We was in a timeout, right? We was in a timeout. I think we was only down by like 2 or 3 points at this time. Yep. We in a timeout. And you hear the crowd screaming loud, the whole crowd, Kobe, Kobe, Kobe. So I look at my coaches, right? Because in my head, I want to give like a come on, guys, we can do it speech right now. I really want to be like, we still got this game type speech. So I look at the coach, I look at Sam Mitchell, and he's over there with his head down like this, going like this. He ain't talking to us. He ain't talking to no one. He just got his head down, and he's shaking his head with his hands in his head. And I look at the bench. So I start looking at my teammates. These 3 guys over here is like smirking and laughing amongst themselves. 2 guys is looking at the score and talking amongst themselves. The other 3 guys is damn near chanting Kobe also with the arena. So in my head, I was like, I went just like this. I gave one more last moment where I was about to be like, let's go, guys, we can do this. And when I looked at my team, I got so discouraged. I just put my arms back, and I just sat and just said, nothing could come out my mouth. I just looked at everybody and was just like, you know what? It ain't even no point in trying to like rah-rah them right now. Like, I quit. Like, y'all quit? Yeah, I quit too. I was like, I'm done. I was like, I hate y'all. I was like, you know what? You have no idea. I'm going down in freaking history for an MF for scoring 81 points on me. Like, I was on Romans burning the next morning. I was like, it was Sam Mitchell's fault. He didn't call no double teams. I even said I wanted to guard him. And look, now this is the funny story. Because I was so angry, I didn't guard him. I said, Coach, let me guard him. He said, no, Mike, I don't want you to get in foul trouble. So I said, foul trouble? I said, man, you worried about foul trouble? This man about to score 100 on us. So now I'm angry. Like, my rest of my career, all I want to do is guard Kobe Bryant. Because I did not guard Kobe Bryant that night. I'm angry. So here it is. I finally got my chance. I'm playing with the Dallas Mavericks. I'm starting for Dallas now. And we're at the end of the season. We playing in LA. This game, if we win this game, we're in the 9th spot in the playoffs. If we win this game, we're going to make the 8th spot in the playoffs, right? So I'm geeked. they give me Rick Carlisle. My assignment is Kobe Bryant in the beginning of the game, and I'm like, yeah, like I've been waiting for this ever since he scored 81 on us. Like I'm telling you, Kobe, you ain't doing nothing tonight. This is how I'm feeling. Man, I got 2 fouls in like 30 seconds. I was sitting on the bench like, man, I was like, man, this is some bull crap. He got me 2 fouls so fast. Sitting there like, are you serious? Like, this ain't how it was supposed to go. It don't go like this. This is so not how I wrote it up. I didn't write it up like that.
That's a great moment of Kobe Bryant.
I'm just on the bench just watching him like, yeah, he great.
Oh, well.
Yeah, he great.
I'm gonna play it tonight. I'm gonna play it.
I'm gonna play. Like, just like how the Cowboys and the 49ers played. And then the 49ers won the game, but I'm going to go on the video game and play Madden Cowboys versus 49ers and kick the 49ers' tail.
That's the payback.
Hey, Mike, we don't want this show to end. You know, that definitely don't want the show to end, but we're going to end up with some quick hitters right now. You've been very animated the entire show, and we really appreciate your animation and how passionate you've been towards this, and even just some of the stories you have been amazing. But I want to get to some quick hitters real quick, and the first one I want to ask you is, how did you get the nickname Pitbull?
Because I'm ferocious. Like,
sure.
Like I'm ferocious. I'm mean. You know, like, and there's other dogs, but don't no dog have don't no other dog have a bite like a pit bull and the aggression like a pit bull, but the stamina of a pit bull, you know, and that's just it. If there's any animal that best signifies me, it's a pit bull. Why I'm misunderstood, the sweetest loving dogs in the world. But if Cross got lockjaw, and if they lock on, they ain't letting go till they break something.
There you go. Love that.
Word. I like that. Oh man, this is hard for you. I want to see what you're gonna say. Best crossover, Tim or Iverson?
Man, the UTEP two-step. What you mean? Tim Hardaway will kill cats with that same bullcrap move right now. Right now, if he played in the NBA in 2023 and he didn't change nothing about his game, he'll probably be averaging 25 and 12 in this era. And he didn't change nothing. That's straight bop, bop. Nothing special about it.
Damn. If there was a documentary made on your life, which actor would you want to star as you, and who would direct it?
Oh man, who could play me? It'll probably have to be like a Morris Chestnut, like a
I don't know.
You know what I'm saying? And who would produce I think I'd give it to Spike.
Okay.
Of course. New York shout out.
New York, you gotta love it.
Favorite city to play basketball for? Favorite city to ever play basketball for?
Favorite city to ever play basketball for? The best city to play in is Miami.
Mm-hmm. Is that because of the temperature?
Oh my god! Listen, Florida. Period. You know what's weird about the basketball? The weird thing about the NBA basketball is when you go to Minnesota, the ball is ashy. Like if you play in Minnesota in the wintertime, the ball is real slippery, real hard, real ashy. You go to Utah, the ball's ashy. There's certain places, if you go when it's cold, the ball gonna be hard and ashy. But if you go to Florida, you go to California, it's like the leather is soft, it's moist. It's like, dang, this ball feels different. So you got more grip of the ball, but it's seriously based on the climate and the temperature, it will determine how the ball feels to you. Mm-hmm. Okay. And it's the weirdest thing. And every city, the ball's gonna feel different.
I know Utah probably sucks over there.
Oh, Minnesota, the worst. That ball, you could like Philadelphia, that ball gonna slide. You could like skip it, and it's just going to skip. But in other cities, you'd be like, man, this ball got so much grip on it right now. But wait a minute, is it a different ball? It's the same ball, just different climate. Crazy thing.
For sure.
Guess that's what leather is.
It's almost like every city has a different type of leather. You think, right?
Exactly. Yo, this that Minnesota leather up here. You know what I'm saying? little ashy.
Can we import, please? Can we import?
last question I gotta ask you: who is someone you'd like to see on Talk Your Exposure? But whoever you help with, or whoever you mention, we'd like it if you could help us get your answer on the show.
Man, have y'all had Mo Pete on?
We have not.
Y'all need to have Mo Pete on. Mo Pete was my boy.
We'd love to have Mo Pete on.
And he was one of the he's a Toronto Hall of Famer. You know, like he had such a great run in Toronto.
Mm-hmm. I actually have his jersey on my wall, signed.
100%.
I definitely would love. Eddie Robinson actually had to help me get him on the show, but he just never really responded to anything. So if you could definitely help me with that, give a little, shout out or whatnot, I definitely would appreciate that.
I'll do that for sure.
I appreciate that. Hey, Mike, again, we thank you so much for your time. You've been someone that we want to have on the show for a while now. I've actually admired your game when you were playing Houston, when you're playing Houston twice actually. When you're playing in Toronto, obviously, as you mentioned, we were underdogs. You were part of a team that was not the greatest in Toronto, but at the end of the day, I loved the way you played the game of basketball. You had that New York style too. You had that tenacity to you. You had that way to get after it. And like you mentioned, man, you always had the underdog mentality. You always want people to prove you. You always want to prove people wrong, and people are always looking at you like an underdog and like someone that
I appreciate that.
But so I definitely
you.
appreciate you for coming on the show today and talking to us about your basketball history and just your life in general. Anytime that we want to connect, I'd love to connect with you down the line.
Yes.
And definitely, again, I appreciate all you're able to share with us today.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate that. I really had a good time on your show. And I'll leave with this right here. They always talked about my point guard and my leadership skills, but Chris Bosh, first year as an All-Star, was with me.
Yes, it was.
He had one of his best years the year that he had with me, and it's not just because of him. It was who was allowing. It was who also he was playing with that was able to get him the ball in the positions to allow him to be successful. I'm just saying. Don't you?
Mike
Hey, y'all take care. Appreciate you.
You guys can check out this episode on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, or even on YouTube under RWI Basketball. One more time, Mike, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. Hope we can see you down the line.
Oh, for sure. Anytime. Just let me know.